What is art?
What is art? You know what? I've got a good answer to that. And here's what I'm figuring with that, because I've heard it said that thoughts are the language of the mind, emotions are the language of the body, and that art is the language of the soul.
Do you have any coaches who can do one-on-one coaching? Because I think that would be another effective way, or small group coaching.
We're talking about the humanities. We're talking about being soulfully present. But what I look to do is unite people who feel the way I feel. This is what I'd like to try and do with you in this word art, because I think it's not very well understood. See if I can do it in under a couple minutes, that our education system is woefully leaving a gap.
What's going on, leaders, warriors, and CEOs? Let me ask you something. What if 3 days could change the way you lead forever? Not with hype, but with a proven system tested by Navy SEALs, CEOs, and other high-stakes leaders who've learned to lead themselves before leading others. Most leadership training focuses on strategy and tactics. But if your inner world is misaligned, no strategy is going to save you. That's why I created the Unbeatable Leader Challenge. It's not about more information. It's about transformation. In 3 days, I'll give you not only the tools, but the live training to master your mind, your emotions, and your mission. Join the thousands who've taken my challenges and walked away with a battle-tested framework to unlock courage, clarity, and conviction in the most demanding moments of life and leadership. Grab your spot now at unbeatableleader.com. Once again, that's unbeatableleader.com. It's time to become the leader that you were born to be. Hoo-yah. Now let's get back to the show. Welcome to the Mark Divine Show. I hope you're coming back, but if not, this is your first time, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Mark Divine. Super stoked to have you here. I love working with leaders who love to learn and grow, are willing to lead with purpose and courage, and also lead by example, and are deeply passionate about self-awareness and their own evolution and the evolution of humanity. Let's just call it that, consciousness. So here you are in your right place. I get to talk to really fascinating people from all walks of life who have similar interests, trying to really help people live their full lives, live with passion, be unbeatable, those types of things. And that's why I'm interested in our guest today. I'm super excited that Rafael McMaster has joined us. Rafael is a visionary creative director, an artist, a youth mental health advocate. Gosh, it's so important. He's transforming lives by bringing mindfulness and creativity through art to younger generations. He's the founder of a group called Indivisible Arts, and this is where he equips young people, those facing adversity especially, with practical tools for emotional resilience and self-expression. Rafael had a successful career in the creative industry and now shifted his focus to community impact. His recent book, Fundamental Tools, offers a hands-on guide to emotional well-being, which is rooted in his innovative youth curriculum. Super cool. Welcome to the Mark Divine Show,
Great
Rafael.
to be here. Excited to be here.
Stoked to have you here. Coming down from LA, being here in person, that's a big commitment. So we really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So what is art?
What is art? You know what? I've got a good answer to that. And I feel the most powerful way to spend time together is if we have the capacity to shift someone's perspective, maybe forever, right? And so this is what I'd like to try and do with you in this word art, because I think it's not very well understood. See if I can do it in under a couple minutes. And I think it's why art is the first thing to get cut from our local elementary schools. Maybe it was called something different. Right. And here's what I'm figuring with that, because I've heard it said that thoughts are the language of the mind, emotions are the language of the body, and that art is the language of the soul.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And so if I'm doing any version of art at any level, scribbling, doodling, whatever, well, then my soul is present. There's a lot of power in that. We talk about our seat of power. Being soulfully present is the jam. Now, our energetic systems, we have the active creative, we have the passive receptive. Sure. Anytime I'm in that active, creative, masculine, if you will, energetic system, but I do it with enough practice, skill, focus, maybe a little creativity, it can be done as an art form. So then doing the dishes can be done as an art form. And we've all experienced it. Sometimes you're mindlessly doing the dishes. Sometimes you're in that flow and like you're grabbing for the next dish as you're letting go of the fork that you toss it, right? It's like, whoa, I'm in the zone with my, we experience it sometimes.
Tossing the fork and it floats
right
into
there,
the dishwasher.
right there. gardening, cooking, anything that is an act, which we are creative beings, so it's all acts, can be done as an art form if it's done with this focused, soulful presence. And the result is we get a soulful presence in return, right? So walking my dog can be something I just have to do. Walking my dog can be a place where I'm spiritually present through making it an art form. The act of turning our activities into art forms then teaches us, trains us to be more soulfully present. That's the payoff. So the traditional forms of art that we think of, photography and pottery, spray painting, all the things that we do at Indivisible Arts and Resin, they're very, very easy pathways to being creative and soulfully present. Here's the thing. Part of why I started this nonprofit is because there was no art teacher at my daughter's elementary school. They said, well, we had a gym teacher, a STEM teacher, and an art teacher, and we could only keep 2. What are you going to do? I get that. I understand that reasoning. The challenge is this. The things that students learn between the ages of 4 and 9 become second nature. You learn to ollie on a skateboard. You learn to surf. You learn to throw. But if you don't learn in that phase, then it's not second nature. Well, if speaking the language of the soul is not second nature to these youth, then we turn around, sooner or later, they're 27, 28. Oh, I'm not really creative. I don't do art. And how are they with their relationship to themselves? Uncomfortable in their own skin because the language of their own soul isn't something they had practice at during their early and critical developmental phases of their being.
Right.
This is the price we're paying when we don't have art in the schools, or if we devalue it or misinterpret it. To most parents, when you say art, they think, oh yeah, painting and drawing, stuff that I buy at Pier 1 Imports to make my walls nice. That's kind of it. We're talking about the humanities. We're talking about being soulfully present. And this age that we're heading to, this age of AI and many other things, soul is going to be a very real and important and valuable and aspirational characteristic, because it's going to be that borderline between what AI can do and what it can't do, which is human soul, people helping other people. That's kind of what that's what we're holding on to, is like our area that it can't touch. Well, then, since that's the scarcity of where we can impact in a unique way, I think it's only become more and more important and more valuable.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. And it's amazing that, it's another example of how, the institutions really have failed. And it's almost, I always go back and forth. Was it kind of deliberate, or is it just kind of happenstance because of the way things evolved that way? But, to strip even the physical arts out of school. Right. So most public schools don't have PE anymore or whatnot.
Yeah.
And to take, music, all these things which are so incredibly important for multidimensional learning and growth, right? What you call soul learning, or bringing that. Those are the most important things, even before the age of AI.
Yeah.
But they were stripped out, and the emphasis was focused on just kind of rational, linear type thinking things and productivity. And, it was all designed to really develop a generation of factory and office workers who are cut off from their creative force, their life force.
Yeah.
And no wonder why we have so much mental disorder and disease and, chronic.
A record-breaking amount.
Record-breaking. It's getting really at a crisis level. So it's forcing people to wake up and be like, well, obviously government's not going to solve this, so we have to solve it.
Exactly right. Right. This battleship is not turning around on its own. And once we begin turning it around, it's going to take a second, right?
And there'll be a lot of resistance to it.
And when we perceive the mental health, challenge, what we're seeing right now is just the tip of the iceberg. And that's a real big iceberg.
What's your ground level view about the mental health with you?
Sure. Day in, day out. I have the benefit of being able to be with youth every single day. I once asked our class, which has about 30 students in it, ages 7 to 22, who here feels like they have ADD? It was about 3 weeks ago, or three months ago, sorry. Every single kid raised their hand. And then one of the workers pulled it up online and said, okay, lack of ability to pay attention for more than 5 seconds. Everybody's hands raised. They just went, trait by trait, only to realize this entire group of young humans who all live with their phones and screens and all the things, which I think is such a massive contributor to the inability to be able to focus and hold focus, right? Fragmented attention that moment in, moment out is being driven further and further. And this iceberg, the way to really understand the depth of the iceberg is to see where that 10-year-old is going to be when they're 27 and what this looks like with continued 8.5 hours a day on a screen, right?
Right.
Luckily, our ship is going to hit this iceberg, but luckily there are ways to build life rafts. And we've figured out a way to teach youth, to teach other youth how to build life rafts. Now we're going, right? And in this analogy, this life raft is consciousness. This life raft is, as Eckhart Tolle would say it, awareness, to be the aware observer of the thoughts. This is not something that crossed my mind until I was 35 and in a lot of like personal, spiritual pain, shall we say, right? And I can think of nothing more powerful than that mind shift, to shifting someone's perception of their own reality from all the voices in their head to I'm the one having the voices in my head. I choose amongst them, and everything I'm thinking is like a program. Well, let me program myself well. And so, what we really represent is a Eckhart Tolle or Joe Dispenza for kids. And how do we know that it works for kids? Because we have a track record and a trail and a movement in South Los Angeles County of conscious youth that are teaching other youth how to become conscious. And we're defining conscious as someone who is practicing being the aware observer of their thoughts and practicing with such, regularity that becomes the default state, to be the observer of the thoughts, right? It's like the awakening process. Great. Well, we're doing it with 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds, and it's working, right? And it's working to where now they're hearing these 17-year-olds say to the new 12-year-old, oh, no, you got to listen to this. This is going to change your life. This changed my life. This is what it's about. Bop, bop, bop. They're talking about awareness in that way with that sense of verve and interest. Yeah, totally, right? And it's the cycle now is complete, and I'm seeing that, and I'm seeing how aspirational and when you see if you're a 12-year-old and you see the cool 17-year-old star athlete at the school say, this is the reason why I made varsity as a freshman. And we have those stories now to say absolute self-control, mind control, right? Emotional resiliency. This is what this is about. And as I was sitting there really contemplating and awakening at 35, contemplating awareness really truly for the first time, I said to myself, my goodness, why is this not taught in schools?
Hey, team. I'm always looking for ways to train smarter, recover faster, and live with more intention. That's why I trust Bubs Naturals. This is a company built on performance, integrity, and legacy. It's named in honor of my friend Glenn Bub Doherty, a SEAL who gave his life in service. Bubs Natural lives out his mission of self-improvement and helping others by donating 10% of all profits to veteran causes. The Bubs product line is clean, simple, and powerful. Collagen peptides for joint and muscle recovery, MCT oil powder for mental focus and sustained energy, and electrolytes to hydrate better than water alone. Everything is NSF for sports certified, Whole30 approved, and made with ingredients that you can trust, because your body deserves nothing less. I use Bubs every day in my coffee and in training and on the move. Check them out at bubsnaturals.com, BUBSNATURALS.com. Use the code unbeatable for 20% off one-time purchases or any subscription. That's amazing. What a great deal. So check it out. Bubs Naturals, die young, as late as possible. Now back to the show. Hoo-yah.
Turns out an 8-year-old can totally get it. In fact, they understand it almost easier because they don't have decades of their own relationship of conditioning to overcome.
That's cool.
Right? So we're seeing something really radical. We know it works. And now it's a function of how do we get these tools in as many hands as possible, because we see, I had a mom say to me a couple of months ago, she looked me dead in the face, and she's a PhD, right, a psychologist. She said, you have saved my daughter's life on multiple occasions, and I need you to hear that and know that. We know what we have works because it's nothing new, but it's just repackaged for youth. And the question is, well, then how do you effectively and resonantly create curriculum that is going to really work for them?
Right.
Well, you ask them. And from a human-centered design process, you have them build it with us. So we have, a couple hundred youth that have been in the co-collaborative development of that book that you have in your hands and of this program since pandemic hit, because it was mid-pandemic that we realized, oh boy, we're all going to need tools, but this generation in particular, this is going to leave a mark, and a mark that we probably won't understand until they're in their mid-20s. How do we get ahead of this? How do we begin giving them fundamental tools now?
Yeah, that's cool. I've wanted to build an unbeatable mind program for teens for some time, but in order to do that, I needed a cohort to co-create, because it'd be silly for Mark Devine to like, oh, this tool's in this format is going to land, I mean, some of them can, but you can talk teaching breathing or positive internal dialogue. Like, it has to be in their language and in their context for it to land.
Right.
So that's what you've done well.
That's what we've done well. And your kind of self-awareness around that, it would be required to be able to collaboratively dance with them to create something that's truly resonant. That mentality is something that's missing from so much of the social emotional learning stuff that is in the schools. Bless their hearts, they get created, and I'm not besmirching any of it. There's a lot of really intelligent people putting it together. But oftentimes, and this is from the kids' words, sure feels like this was created, at a college, at a university somewhere without very much input from the local 10-year-olds.
Like teaching DEI and transgenderism to these kids. Like, that wasn't created by other kids.
No, right? So it is crazy, and it's a crazy time. It's a really crazy time, but you know what? This is crazy enough to work, right? And so many times we as a human species have had our back up against the wall, and that's when those unexpected and amazing things
get leaps in awareness.
That's
leaps in I think I'm with you. We're at one of those times, with AI and with everything that's going on, the cultural wars and, degradation of like longstanding cultures and structures, like open borders, mass immigration. Look what's happening in Europe, Canada, Australia. Wow. These countries will cease to exist as they knew themselves very shortly, within years. And it probably won't be pretty. And so that means a whole other generation of youth could get left behind or, end up with violence and negativity.
Yeah, I mean,
so this is a very important issue to kind of get ahead of, so that generation can be part of the, if not lead the charge to heal.
Absolutely.
I was looking through, like, this is great, by the way. I was thumbing through your book, Fundamental Life Tools. And the table of contents looks like I could be reading, from an Eckhart Tolle manual. Awareness, acceptance, intention, gratitude, compassion, forgiveness, and connection. I mean, everybody should be learning this stuff.
Fundamentals.
Those are the fundies, the fundamentals. That's incredible. So I want to, but back again to youth, it's in the presentation of the tools, right, and the context that's critical. So can we go through a few of these? Maybe the ones that have had the most impact,
sure,
transformative impact, and how did you frame up, to teach awareness and acceptance or compassion and forgiveness?
Sure. Well, it was, in the middle of the pandemic, I got together a community of, people who serve. I'd say servants, but that doesn't sound right, but those committed to service. And psychologists, therapists, life coaches, executive coaches, head of a health organization. Okay, what is the most fundamental set of 7 that we could come up with? Because there's so many tools, right? The list can go on forever. There's certainly not only 7, but if I lay in front of a 10-year-old this unfolding list of 26 things they can do, it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
We decided, okay, 7 was a good number where it's enough to where, and we've now kind of tried it out, and in my own life, there isn't anything that can come my way, except for like forcing grief to go faster, which I don't think is a natural human process, that these tools or some combination of these tools can't, resolve or fix or transform or transmute, right? So these tools work, and this combined set makes a functional system, right? So, awareness, the way we're teaching this, it's great. The teenagers this summer, where there's a whole teen movement, sub-movement happening inside the greater movement, right? And we had all these teenagers hanging out all summer, building a new web platform, which hopefully we'll talk about, where these tools can be accessed anywhere from anywhere and taught by other teens, right? And they put forth to change. We teach, being the observer of your thoughts as awareness. And that's what Eckhart Tolle calls it right now. It seems like it works, except for a lot of them because part of the group was coming and hanging out for the first time this summer. They're like, awareness, yeah, but that's also like being aware of your surroundings. And I don't know, it makes sense, but it's kind of confusing. I'm like, cool, let's explore this. What would you guys call it? They went off for a week and came back with mind watching, right? So this is an example of how they're now taking ownership of this, right? The output, the impact isn't going to be what I'm teaching these kids. It's going to be what once they know all these things and they begin building on top of it and they begin conceiving things that we can't conceive of because we're not meant to, because we're not their generation. That's where I think the big opportunity, the big leap forward happens.
You know what? That's incredibly insightful of them, because awareness is beyond mind watching. Because awareness is non-personal. And witnessing is the personal expression of awareness, which is mind watching. So, man, they nailed it.
Right. So that's really how we're teaching in class. You'd hear me say, are you the voices and thoughts in your head? No. Who are you? The one watching it, the one having the thoughts, the observer, right? And this kind of call and response where the students are hearing it from each other. It's so vital.
How do
so
you
powerful.
teach them to intervene when they're overwhelmed with caught up in their thoughts?
Sure. The ABCs, right? Well, the first is like being aware that I'm caught up in my thoughts. Till that happens. And so we kind of teach awareness is like, if all of these tools are like different apps, if you will, well, then awareness is the on and off button. It's turning the machine on so we can work with this, right? And then the second is breath, right? And how many parts of the breath are there? 4. What are they, right? And we do box breathing class. We have the entire back wall behind me when I'm teaching is this 18-foot by 45-foot projector wall. So it's animated, right? And we have a 24-year-old who does all of like the visuals, right? So it's interactive in that way. We're trying to explore like what is the future of the classroom? What does this edutainment look like? That's interesting and alive, and
because it holds their attention, because that's what their brains are used to.
Bingo, right? And so always having things happening that helps bring them back to center. If anything, creates a visual experience that's resonant to how their brain is operating right now. So we can help shift that, grow it, change it, right? And so the first tool that we teach, and we teach it every class, we revisit awareness every class, right? And usually when their minds have gotten a hold of them, if they're upset, frustrated, irritated, upset, what's the tool you reach for? Acceptance, right? So it goes from awareness, breath, into acceptance, which is why acceptance is the second tool. And oftentimes, students who find our program, we have an amazing scholarship program. So we've turned away 0 kids in 9 years. And oftentimes what it looks like is I'll get a text in the middle of a day from a distraught mom saying, my son just got suspended again. I don't know what's wrong with him. We don't know what's wrong with him. So on and so on and so on. How the therapist can't see him for 3 weeks, and that's only client intake. So you can't really make it far in those first 3 weeks. This kid needs help now. How quickly can he come in? He can come today. And, the insurance won't cover the therapy. How much is this? And he can come for free. Like, let's go.
You're a nonprofit.
We're a nonprofit.
So, yeah.
We do fundraising and grant writing so that we have a strong scholarship program so that no kid doesn't have access to these tools. Every kid deserves access to these tools.
Structurally, is it like an after-school program? You meet on the weekends, virtual?
So it's 4 to 5:30 weekdays after school.
Every weekday.
And we have a different cohort that comes each day. So usually kids will be like Monday kids or Tuesday kids. And some kids are Monday and Wednesday kids and getting a lot out of it. Right. And the composition of the class is fantastic because you've got 15 or so kids that are aged 7 to 13. And then you have 15-ish kids, 14 to 22.
Interesting.
Now the younger ones there, right? Elementary school, middle school, and they're coming because they get to spray paint a skate deck. They're coming because they get to do 3D design and 3D printing. They'll be happy to sit through the consciousness stuff if it means they get to do. We tell them it's Jedi mind training. They seem to be into it. They're little Padawans.
That's cool.
It's fun. Make it fun, right?
That's cool.
The high schoolers are there because how do we motivate a high schooler? Well, listen, for good or for bad, it is what it is. That they are absolutely obsessed on college admissions, and few things help you cut from the clutter of all of those admissions than having experience volunteering for a 501c3 nonprofit, teaching creativity and consciousness and mental and emotional health tools to kids through the power of art.
Yeah.
That sounds good. And so these kids they become motivated for that, but they begin growing and learning and changing in the process. And when people they start to onboard tools, they start to have more command over their emotions, their grades go up, their sports better. You don't have to convince them that this stuff is valuable and meaningful. They know it deep down inside. So then they go and grab their friend, say, hey, you got to come do this, right? And that's how it's really just spreading word of mouth. And so if a kid's struggling, if a parent is reaching out to me, then usually acceptance is after awareness, acceptance is the next tool to onboard, right? And really having serenity, being calm, being at peace with life as it is, knowing what's mine to control in my hula hoop versus what's really not mine to control, and understanding where my expectations are, right? So that I can get back to inner peace, inner harmony. So that's the second tool we teach, acceptance. Third one, intention. How in the world am I going to hit the bullseye if I don't know what I'm shooting for?
And that's good. That's a tough one for kids.
Tough,
especially with the ADD generation. Like, what am I supposed to focus on? I mean, the high schoolers are obviously, like a lot of them focus on college, so that's their target.
Sure.
But the younger ones, how do you help them there?
Well, you train them how to focus.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it's complex, and not because it isn't already baked into our human nature. It's
through
just nobody else is
turning
teaching
off the
it.
tech and have them work on their skateboard for 30 minutes.
Right. That's right. Yeah, get into that flow state. They have a full hour, right? So they do 30 minutes of the Jedi mind training up front, and then they have an hour of creative laboratory time.
Oh, cool.
Creative laboratory is 3,800 square foot, 2-story music studio, fashion lab, graphic design center, 3D printing, spray paint alley, throwing paint. This kid yesterday was throwing paint off the second story onto this big glass thing. It was incredible. It's all the amazing stuff that they want to do at home, but there's no way they can because it'd be too messy and too wild. Here's a safe place for the kid to follow their own, original thoughts and creative inspiration. For the most part, without limitations provided, it's not going to hurt somebody else.
Sounds like mayhem in there.
It is beautiful chaos. It is beautiful chaos, right? And you have this marriage of like these younger kids just going wild, having so much fun, and they can go learn how to drum for 10 minutes and then go shoot photography after that. Like, it's fantastic. And they're paired up with these teenagers. These teenagers are getting these volunteer hours, so they're super into it. And it's really like fun, cute, sweet, endearing, purposeful, fulfilling to be a 16-year-old and stoking out, a 9-year-old with enthusiasm and giving them encouragement and courage in the process. It's a magical feeling for everybody involved, for them to begin to feel and live the heart of service.
What are some of the biggest obstacles that the kids confront or that you have to help them work through?
Well, the start is pretty much every kid in there to a T hates homework. I mean,
homework is wrong.
Right. Sure.
How can you possibly go to school for 8 hours and still have work to do?
That's
insane.
And so getting them to change the languaging in their own minds. If my thought forms are saying, oh, I hate homework, this is going to take forever. Are you that thought? No. Who are you? The one having it. What can you change it to? I'm grateful I have a free education. I have a teacher who cares about me. The quicker I can get done with, then I can go do something fun. I actually like learning, and I'm planning on going to college, so it's good for me to grow. That combination of those 5 thought forms, creating a program, creates a much more enjoyable homework doing experience than the alternative, right? So getting them to see that mechanic, that it's applicable to everything that they're doing, that's a huge part. And we use the homework example because it's so, prevalent. Every kid is experiencing that. But beyond that, it's the stuff that every generation, at least the recent ones, have had to contend with addiction, with eating disorder, with body image, but just exacerbated, right? Because of this thing. Because of the phone. And I hate to say it, I hate to make it so simple sounding, but the impact of this phone on their capacity to to focus,
self-regulate.
Comparison is the thief of joy, and that's all social media is. And listen, this iceberg that we were talking about, this mental health epidemic iceberg, we're at war right now. We're at battle. And the challenge is us on part of the resistance don't even know we're at battle, and so we're not organized. Here's what I mean. Take Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They've got shareholders, they've got executives, they've got systems for efficiency. They're all Ivy League. They have so much skill and expertise at being a really good machine that needs to show year over year increase of market share of how many minutes a day is any given kid on our app, not the other app, on our app, and what is the most amount of time that we can get. Simplify it down. That's it, right? Yeah. That's exactly what they need to.
Attention is their business model.
That's right. Our kids' attention is the exact thing they need to show skill at year over quarter improvement on, because their jobs rely on it, and darn it, they're pretty intelligent and good at their jobs, right? That's a very organized machine. Us on the other side, those of us with the kids, with the phones and the attention, have no idea we're even at battle for the war over our kids' attention, right? So let's begin organizing. And we've started a movement. It's a movement for 1 million conscious youth. This is what we're doing. This is what my life, this next part of my life will be doing this. Year on end. Might take me 5 years, might take me 10 years. But I tell you what, if there's ever a time.
You consider it a global movement or U.S. focused right now?
Focus right now with the United States. Lordy, we need it. And I understand it better.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't mean, but a person from anywhere can access, what is now being built, this online platform of youth teaching these tools through real life experience. So each of these videos is a 3 to 5 minute pitch. Hey, this is my name. I'm overcoming this. This is the tool or combination of tools I use. This is how it works. This is what my life was like before, and this is what it's like now. Here's where you can learn more. And them hearing from another teen how these tools work. And like in Sanskrit, there's a word kavi, which is the sound in someone's voice when they're speaking about something from lived experience. They've done it. So there's an authenticity and a truth to it. This is from experience. It has an energy to it. When a 17-year-old is explaining to another teenager, this is how I overcame, college essay fatigue, right? This is how I overcame being bullied. This is how I overcame addiction. We have a bunch of students that have found sobriety through this program, right? And, what I will say is sobriety is a personal path of the person. There's no one size fits all, right. But I highly doubt these kids would have been able to achieve that in their lives without some tools, without these tools. And these are the tools that they attribute as well. If it can help with such a massive shift, then it can certainly help a 11-year-old that's struggling because they don't want to pick up their phone, but they keep picking up their phone and they don't know why. Or a 13-year-old who, here's the thing about the neurology of addiction. The neurology of addiction does not distinguish if it was heroin or alcohol or porn or a phone that created the neurological pathways that instead of a river with streams and tributaries, it's a canyon because it's been over and over. Once that canyon's made, the canyon's been made. There's the neuroplasticity involved, but that's there. And when they stop doing this one thing and they put something else in its place, that cross-addiction experience happens, right? Okay, so here comes a kid who has those addiction neurological pathways because of their phone and their iPad and their screen. They don't know it though. They're not privy to that. And then a doctor prescribes them a benzo or a doctor prescribes them ADD medication. The idea that we're prescribing Adderall, which has only one ingredient, methamphetamine salt. So we're giving clean meth to kids saying, see, it helps them focus more. Yeah, it sure helps them focus in that moment, but there is a long-term effect that comes with putting 12-year-old boys on meth.
For sure.
It's insane.
I didn't realize it was meth.
It's all it is methamphetamine salt. It's
Holy
only
cow.
one ingredient. It's part of why it's so effective. But if these drugs are so effective that they are like scheduled drugs from, like if a person was giving to someone else, it would be illegal.
Right.
If it hits that level of illegality and thus effectiveness, maybe we should take a pause
Second look,
before
yeah.
we give it to kids.
Right.
It's wild. And so, never has there been a time where I feel
think
confident.
that just hit the public kind of consciousness with these latest school shootings and people kind of recognizing that almost every one of these mass casualty school shooting incidents, the kids were on some sort of antidepressant and anxiety drug. It's distorting their perception of reality.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And when we talk mental health, sometimes we don't get a clear picture because we're only looking at, these specific mental health statistics. But when you add on, 48.5 million adults in the United States have problems with alcoholism or addiction, that counts as mental health. When you say 9 million are on ADD meds and this many on benzos and anti-anxiety, and let's throw school shootings into our view of mental health because that's what that is. That's mental health.
Absolutely.
When we begin to look at it in its bigger holistic sense of what this is, it's an epidemic.
It is an epidemic, and it's a war.
And the challenge is it's 3 times invisible, right? So, and there was an interesting statistic from 2023 that 90% of Americans agreed, which you can't get 90% of Americans to agree on anything, that we are in a mental health epidemic, okay? Now, the reason why I find that statistic to be strange is because, the mental health epidemic is 3 times invisible. First time invisible, it's between the ears. There's an epidemic of broken arms. We'd see all the casts and say, we've got to do something about these millions of broken arms out there. Part 1, invisible. Secondly, if someone's struggling with their mental health, and I know this.
They're not sharing it. So
it sounds like, I'm good, I'm fine. They're on fire on the inside, but they do not have the words to articulate what it is that they're going through, and they don't even know where to begin. They say, I can't even, I'm good. Thirdly, if that person's struggling, like you're right, they're not sharing it with their friends. I'm not sharing it with my neighbor. Heck, as a parent, I'm not sharing it with my parent, my daughter's grandparents, because that's her privacy. Mm-hmm. So it's ultra private, but 9 out of 10 would say that we're in an epidemic. That means they're seeing it in their own house. Mm-hmm. That means we're experiencing it firsthand. We have a firsthand knowledge of either the person themselves, that's how they're feeling on the inside. Space between my ears is a war zone, a mental war zone, right? Mm-hmm. Or it's in their family or close friends. I feel that since it's 3 times invisible, that's a very telling statistic because I think that's a true canary in the coal mine. Mm-hmm. Now, not to be alarmist, because never has there been a time where change, hope, and tools can spread faster than ever. I mean, if 8.5 million people can like this dog video, then certainly we can spread an intellectual contagion that's based on uplift and tools.
But you're fighting against those very sophisticated systems that want their attention.
That's right. So we're going to use their systems to spread the word.
So I'm wondering, do you have any challenges with getting noticed with the algorithms?
Sure.
It's something I've wondered about, like my work. Like,
right.
People out there pounding their chests and promoting
negativity and division,
vacuous things, and even some of my teammates, and I'm not going to name any names, but they get amplified.
Right.
But yours truly, right, is promoting a completely different message.
Yeah.
Not so much. And I'm just curious if that's by design or
if anything,
or if I'm doing something wrong.
If anything, you've just made me feel a lot better about our social media, performance, right? Oh, you know what? It's them holding us down. I have no idea, to be honest. Wouldn't
that be so insidious if that was true?
It would be believable too.
It would be
believable too. I IRL in real life. That's to me is what it's about. And so my reality is so geared with that in mind and wanting to spread this through school systems. Right now it's being taught as California state accredited English, high school English. So I'm teaching it at a high school that's focused on foster youth, right? We've been teaching it there. This is our 4th year and our 2nd year to where they're getting, their English credit from going through this course and becoming in the process. Because otherwise you check in with high schoolers and guess what? They're still reading Catcher in the Rye. They're still reading To Kill a Mockingbird. Those are great books. I get it. And What if we gave them something that when they're writing in English class, they're becoming in the process. They're growing, they're developing, it's mattering, it's shifting and changing who they are for the rest of their life. That matters, and it's available to us.
Actual developmental tools into the school environment. That's exactly what we're doing for professional leaders.
Exactly right.
Bringing developmental tools so that you work on yourself while you're working in the business.
That's right.
You work on yourself while you're working in your academic environment. The teachers provide content and training and skills, but simultaneously, right, how to be a good person, how to be open-hearted, compassionate, forgiving, accepting. Those are amazing life skills. That's incredible. And you're right. It should be like normal.
Absolutely.
You think any highly evolved culture, that's a no-brainer. Apparently, we don't live in a highly evolved culture.
Or like you said,
now, of course,
system,
now we do, right? The system
right?
has
Maybe
failed.
the system is working, but the system was designed this way. I don't know. Not to go too far into that and to keep it on the positive note, what I do know is we have something that works. This train is going and it's not stopping. Might take 5, 10, 15 years, whatever. And, that story of the two people walking at low tide and so they see all the sea stars and one of them stops and keeps throwing one starfish in it. And why are you doing there's too many? Well, it matters to that one.
Right.
And that's what we're doing. Right. And
the impact is paid forward. It's a ripple effect, right? It might be 10% of your kids who then go on and be great coaches, teachers, create other programs. I've thought that all the time. I had an insight when in 2017, it was like a download. It said, your mission is to impact 100 million people, right? And I thought, well, how am I going to do that? I'm not like Tony Robbins. I don't need to be in front of thousands of people.
The ripple effect.
But it was going to be the ripple effect.
Right.
It's going to be coaches. It's going to be
train the trainers.
Train the trainers. It's going to be organizations that really embrace it. It might be someone who steals my entire catalog of work.
And then they affect 990 million people.
900,000.
Right?
It's all good.
It's all, service is service. It's not about the credit, right? It's about, and I can think of nothing more valuable or important than someone becoming conscious and onboarding the basic tools to deal with all of life stuff so that they can then be available to go to the next level.
Have you ever had any adults be like, hey, can you create an adult program?
Yeah, all
really
the time.
Cool.
All the time. And that's happening next. And I, in many different ways, I'm in circles and places where we are teaching. The tools are tools. The basics are the basics, whether they're adult or a kid. And at our after school program, there's all sorts of adults that come and we invite them. You
can hang out.
Yeah.
Can I play?
They just come in and watch it. And they leave. They all have their sketchbooks
it's really
now.
good for the kids to see the adults sitting there getting dirty with them and painting with them. And
Bingo. There's just that opportunity. Wednesdays now are so that's today. That's later on today is family class, right? And just the shared opportunity for mom and son or dad and daughter, whatever it is, to be creating together, and then separately on their own. But opportunities for families to get to connect in that way, like the age of board games are gone, right? And if we think about human evolution, where around the campfire, our shoulders are all facing each other. We fall asleep in the cave, we're in a circle facing each other. And then 100 years ago, the TV came along. And instead of our shoulders being faced, all the shoulders were facing one wall. And then the phone, let's splinter that thing up, right? This is a return to, family connection in an environment that feels really natural and fun and inviting, and it's not weird. It's goofing around in the creative lab together. But so the many of the parents come. I invite anyone who hears this, right? Indivisible Arts, our home is Resin in Hermosa Beach, California. We're 18 minutes from LAX. So if you're flying out of LAX and you have a layover and you got a little time, come down, come see this with your own eyes, because it creates a sense of hope. Right. When we hear an 11-year-old talk about these concepts with such a level of mastery and understanding, just basic competence and understanding, that it goes, right, okay, this is understandable stuff, and this can make a big difference if all of a sudden we have 1 million youth.
You have a good video that describes or shows kind of the work being done?
Sure. Yeah, if anyone goes to indivisiblearts.org, you'll see videos there. And
so you mentioned you're moving to an online format so you can reach more people, but I can also see how it's so important to have that in-person, connection. Yeah. So like franchising or licensing little training or centers around the country is going to be key.
If we think about the role that Boys and Girls Club or YMCA or these community centers play, right? But the times have changed, and the room and opportunity for a creative consciousness community center has arrived. Where I'm watching at work, I'm watching every parent walk in being on like, geez, this makes sense. Where has this been? It's like the first time you do Uber or Airbnb and you're like, wow, that was really easy. Where's that been?
Yeah,
right?
seems obvious.
Seems obvious, right? And so this idea of a creative community center, creative consciousness community center, it's an idea whose time has come and it's totally making sense. And there'll always be our in-person home, which will be our broadcast center for all of the online stuff. And what we've come to realize as utilizing that creative laboratory as a broadcast center for this consciousness from the other youth to a 17-year-old in Topeka who's struggling and doesn't have insurance and is hearing his parents argue while they do dishes at night. Well, should he even go to therapy? Because I don't think it would even work, and we don't really have the money. And now this kid feels ashamed that his inability to control his own thoughts is causing so much like sadness and inner tension of his family. That's a very real thing in millions of households. I want a place they can go to right now and begin learning these tools that work.
Right. That is fascinating. So listeners who are listening right now, they're like, I want to do this, or I want to get my kid involved. It's still, you have your one location in LA.
That's right.
And you're developing the online, but it's not launched yet. When is that going to?
So the prototype of the site is up, and it was made this summer by those teenagers, right? So they called it Stream of Consciousness, as in you're streaming videos, streamofconsciousness.life. I was like, it's .life? No, it's cool. All right, you guys, it's your generation. You'll understand better how to reach someone else in your own generation. So it's streamofconsciousness.life. The prototype is up. Ultimately to build out something that can hold the data of 1 million users and so on, and video and all that. So what we're doing is we're building the prototype so that we can find the right person or people or donors, family offices that view the importance of this cause and can help us.
So it's a
create.
multi-stakeholder thing. You're using it to raise money as well as awareness, and
Sure. And the first thing we do is we create the prototype so that someone who has the resources say, okay, this needs to be done on and can fund that larger build.
Do you have any coaches who can do one-on-one coaching? Because I think that would be another effective way, or small group coaching.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's a great idea. Yeah. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Okay. No charge. Just take that one out.
That's fair. Well,
but as far as like, if someone's in New York City and they're like, oh my God, I need this now. I can't go to LA. So getting the book is probably the first step, right? But if they wanted to engage, if they're in crisis.
What I would say is everything is possible, right? My email is Rafael with an F, Rafael@indivisiblearts.org. And person can go to the website and there's forms to fill in, but if you need to email me directly, and if you're hearing this, email me directly. Everywhere it goes from there, we'll figure it out. Right. Everything is figure outable.
It's true.
And I think about all of the curriculum that you've made and the unbeatable mind, and this is the exact type of curriculum that these kids need, right? And I'm not saying I have the answers or these 7 tools are the answers. Far from it. I'm saying this is a great starting point.
For sure.
But what I look to do is unite people who feel the way I feel, that our education system is woefully leaving a gap in the human development part amongst other parts. And through us creating curriculum that they can have access to, we can help change lives even if we never meet them personally, right? So this path is going to include other leaders like me who create curriculum, who want to make it available to this subset because they believe in its power. And so me saying this out loud is a call out to those people, right? Who know, who have curriculum, who are professionals in developing curriculum and can say, yeah, this is a nonprofit. This is a cause that's worthy of me helping put in my time or energy to try and change lives.
Ooh-yah. Challenge issued. We'll see who steps up. Amazing, Rafael. Well, thank you so much for coming down. Thanks for the work you're doing. It's really, really important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we got to wrap up here.
Yeah, no, that went by fast.
It did, didn't it? Time flies when you're having fun and you're present and creative.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to Mark Divine Show. Super stoked to have you here. I hope you were inspired by that conversation. It's incredible work. If you have a child you think would benefit, which is everybody, please reach out to Rafael. He gave you his email address. Incredible. And the website, Inspired Arts.
Indivisible Arts.
Indivisible Arts.
Indivisiblearts.org. As in, indivisible cannot be divided.
Can't be divided. Yeah. Indivisiblearts.org. Right. Social media, what's your handle? Same?
Indivisible_arts, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, that works. At any rate, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for listening. Thanks for walking this path with us and pay it forward, make an impact out there. Be the change you want to see in the world. We can do that at scale now with social media. That's the positive side, right?
That's the idea.
If you were inspired by this, please rate, review, wherever you listen. It really helps other people find the show, gives us credibility, and it helps others discover it. Thanks to my amazing team, MK Labs and Catherine, who helped produce the show and find incredible guests like Raphael, and also our newsletter, Divine Inspiration. Go check us out more at unbeatablemind.com or unbeatableleader.com if you're a leader looking to for tools to transform the I, we, and the it of your organization, the self-leadership, the team culture, and your structure. That's what we do, and we'd love to help you out. And we have this incredible monthly challenge. We just wrapped up, actually, the first one today. So go to unbeatableleader.com to learn more about that. Also do one-on-one coaching, and I have a cool mastermind, so you can learn more about that there. Follow me on Instagram, Mark Divine Official, and I guess that's it. Stay focused, be creative, be aware, and let's help our kids. Thanks, Raphael. Huya.